Hi everyone, welcome, huge welcome. I have a fantastic show lined up for you today with Soul Tribe. So I'm really excited to bring this to you today. I have a very special guest called TIM Sandars from the UK, and we're going to be talking everything to do with energy, frequency, vibration, EMFs, radiation. All that area will be covered, and it's going to be full of information for you. So hope you love it. I'd like to start, as I always do, with a prayer. So I'm just going to put the prayer up on the screen. And I always like to start with a prayer because it just sets the energy and the intention for the show. And so first of all, I'd like to do a prayer for today's show. I bless myself, this Soul Tribe show, the FCB family, and the Soul Tribe audience with purified love and light. I bless myself, this Soul Tribe show, the FCB family, and the Soul Tribe audience with purified divine source energy and Christ consciousness now, as in divine alignment. And so it is done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd like to also share a powerful decree with you that can be said 3 times for maximum impact. I'm only going to say it once now. I had somebody requesting this week for me to do a sort of like a decree to help with the things like the mosquitoes and the parasites as well that are out there. This release of in Florida, they talked about mosquitoes were, potentially bringing, was it cholera or something like this to a few people. So, when we do intention, work with intention, I'm going to talk more about this today. We can have a powerful impact. So if everyone that's listening could say this as well, that would be incredible. And this decree covers quite a few areas. So in the name of God and the Christ consciousness, acting on behalf of humanity, I ask for all artificial systems, plans, blueprints, and structures, including mosquitoes and parasites, that hold an intent to detrimentally alter humanity, Earth structures, or weather patterns on Earth, be rendered void now. Please bring in the highest energy, frequency, and vibration that is in the highest divine alignment for all concerned. And so be it. It is done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in upcoming weeks, I will be offering those on my website as part of the opt-in. So they're really, really powerful, and I hope that you're able to do them with me. Even if you're listening back to this recording, if you wanted to repeat them 3 times, that would be fantastic. So I'd like to start today's show by talking about some very positive news. And, we can get a sort of a sense of how we're going in terms of the awakening by looking at pop culture. And there has been an absolute hit that's come through in terms of music in America and also globally. And this particular song has gone viral, and it really represents the psyche of the collective at the moment. So I'm going to share with you a bit of information about this song. This song is a song called Rich Men North of Richmond. I would have loved to have played it to you actually, but I can't because with the Facebook, copyright issues and things, we wouldn't have been able to live stream onto Facebook. So I couldn't share the song with you, but I will give you a link where you can access it in a minute. But this song called Rich Men North of Richmond was written by a guy called, his name is Oliver Anthony in terms of his public name, but his personal name is actually Christopher Anthony Lunsford. And he got his name, Oliver Anthony, from his grandfather. And this song that he's released has just become #1 on the iTunes. It's #1 in America. And as I said, it really represents the feeling of the collective of people and shows the awakening, because it talks about how people are no longer accepting being controlled by our controllers. They're no longer accepting the injustice and the inequalities of humanity that are happening at the moment, and the slave system, working 9 to 5. So some of the lyrics, I'll just share them with you here because they're great, and this is the first verse I'm going to start by sharing. I've been selling my soul, working all day. And it's not sharing. I'm trying to share it. Let me just see. Oh, yes, it is sharing. Okay. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay. So I can sit here and waste my life away. And then the chorus, which is living in the new world with an old soul. Many of the people here really resonate with that because, there are so many old souls that are in the awakening at the moment. These rich men north of Richmond. So that he's talking about the politicians in Washington, D.C. and, that D.C. area. Lord knows they all just want to have total control, want to know what you think, want to know what you do. And they don't think but I know that you do. And then he talks about the financial system, because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end because of rich men north of Richmond. And the way he sings it is absolutely, it's raw. It's really, really emotional. And you can feel the energy in his, and the power in what he's saying. He's so authentic, and he's really touches your soul with the emotion behind what he's singing. So that is incredible that has been so successful. And then at the same time, simultaneously, we've got the success of The Sound of Freedom being #1 at the box office. So again, it's a real snapshot of where the collective consciousness is, and the awakening process, that more and more people are waking up to the truth and seeing what's really happening. So this is incredibly positive. And it was funny because my partner was talking about the Sex Pistols and this group from that began the whole punk era in England quite a long time ago. And it's interesting, I think, the parallels, because they were very, very authentic and again, very raw, but they were, hi, Sugar Bee, welcome. They were very much against the establishment, very anti-establishment. This song, similarly is against the system, anti-establishment. And so they did a similar thing where they came out. Nobody had really done what they had done before they arrived on the scene, the Sex Pistols, and they only had one album, but they really, again, hit the hi 17Q Ranchers, welcome. They really hit the psyche of the collective, because people were not happy, with the royalty and the system in England. And what happened, it was a very interesting story with the Sex Pistols, actually, because they had this one album only, and then they went on a show and they swore a bit, because that's what they did, being anti-establishment. And they the whole record company cancelled them, and they were given $1 million. And then they sort of just didn't do any more after that. But they similarly had this huge effect, and they began the whole punk movement as well. And so what I got in a download was that what actually happened with the Sex Pistols was that the cabal, or the deep state, or whatever you want to call them, the globalist controllers, they knew and they could see the impact that this group were having. And you've got to remember too that these members of the Sex Pistols, they weren't great musicians. I think Sid Vicious had played guitar for 3 months before he played on stage live with their first song, which I think was God Save the Queen. And Johnny Rotten, he didn't have a great voice or anything, but they really, again, with their authentic, raw truth, they really hit the sort of the core of what people were concerned about. And so they were paid $1 million to just, disappear, basically. And I think the cabal did that on purpose because they didn't want them to build more of a following. They didn't want to amp up this movement against the establishment. So that was really interesting what happened there. Similarly, I will say too that Oliver Anthony has just been offered $8 million to take his music to big stadiums and things like that, and he knocked it back. He said no, he didn't want to do that. He didn't want helicopters. He didn't want to play big stadiums. He just wanted to express his truth because he saw the incredible unfairness of how humanity. Hi, Kaz, lovely to see you. Beautiful, Kaz. Hi. He saw the unfairness because he worked with a lot of people in America in the job that he did. He would see thousands of people, he said, and he could feel this incredible corruption and the inequalities of their lives and how they were struggling, just to survive. And that, the core of why he did what he did. And then his integrity is therefore in the song reflected in his ability to knock back that $8 million. So I think that says so much for this man and his character, and really aligns with everything that he's saying in the song. And it's so great to see somebody doing that. It's incredible, knocking back $8 million so that he could be true to his roots. And I also love in the song the Appalachian sort of music, because that came from the roots of his heritage, which was what his grandfather would play, Appalachian music. So check that song out. If you'd like to have a listen to it, I've put a link on my website here. I'm just going to put the information up for you on the screen. And this link is in my news at my website. So if you go to www.medina.com and you go to the news section, in the top bars across, it says news, and my latest post, OMNIA latest news and song, you can go on there and click on the link straight to that song. You can also obviously Google it as well yourself, but it is also, I've put it up for people if they're wanting to find that song. It's on in my news at my website there. And information about today and what we're talking about with OMNIA and radiation EMFs is also in the same post as well, in news at my website. So that's specially set up for today's show. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to just share a few more things before we go to our special guest. FCB has a fantastic new website for all the Face Freedom Channel broadcast shows, and he's put so much work into setting up this website. So please check it out. It's amazing, and it's got information about everything. And I'd also like to share a card reading with you, because I had a request for a card reading I didn't get to last week from Lulu 203. And she said, "Hi there, loving the show. Would love for you to pull a card for me, please." So I don't want anyone to be disappointed. And I like to always respond to all the comments, both on Rumble and Facebook. I do go through and make sure that I respond to as much as I can, hopefully everything there. So your card, Lulu, is children. Know that your children are protected. So have you been concerned recently about your kids, your children? So know that they have protection over them, and that you don't need to worry, and just be able to, relax more with that. And so that's beautiful. That could hopefully give you some solace there if you've been concerned about your children. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I've been getting two things happening in the last few weeks, which are very interesting. I've been getting a lot of information about change happening. That says, love the Sex Pistols. They rocked. Yeah, they were pretty had a lot of energy, amazing energy, and they were, I guess you could say angry, aggressive, but it's true that they were completely authentic, and they were expressing what they felt, which was brilliant. That was needed at that time. Hi, Joyce. Lovely to see you from Georgia. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Love your show. Thank you. Joyce, well, maybe I'll see how I go toward the end, Joyce, but I'm just going to continue because we've got our special guests coming in. But thank you so much for asking. I'll make sure you get one somewhere. But so with my two things that have come up lately have been, first one has been change. I'm getting so much information that change is afoot. And it may not necessarily be a personal thing for me, change. It may be a collective change happening for everyone. And, being on the precipice of maybe, who knows, disclosure, on the precipice of a whole new wealth transfer, a whole new financial system. But I'm definitely getting a lot of information, and I don't know if you are out there as well, but that change is imminent. So that's really, really interesting. I've just noticed that really coming into my quantum field. The other one is dragons. I've been getting a lot of information and a lot of synchronicities about dragons. Like I'll go and watch something and it'll be about dragons, or someone will mention dragons, or a friend said she saw a flag around me which was red and white with a cross, and it was all about St. George who slayed the dragons in the old days. So just all this dragon information's coming through. And I even got an email from Indigo Angel about her work. Amanda, if you don't know, she does some wonderful work on the planet. And she said specifically that it's bizarre because everything happening at the moment with fires hits when the dragon parts were gaining momentum in complete spectrum unity and collection before the global fire events. So what she's saying is that the dragon parts were building momentum in the collective. And that was an interesting synchronicity, because I just kept getting all this dragon information. So, maybe it's a time for us to all call in our dragons and work with our dragons consciously, and get them to help the planet and help us, because dragons also can really support our empowerment too. So if that resonates with you, call in your dragon to help you and help the planet and humanity. Hi, Sharon. Oh, that's beautiful. Love you too. Thank you. Big hugs. So today I'm going to be talking about energy, frequency, vibration, EMFs, and radiation. Such an important topic at the minute. And we're about to go into that, but I'd just like to share with you that I have on my website, if anyone's interested, speaking of energy, frequency, vibration, I have my Healy. It's a quantum frequency device, and I use it every day. I used it before I went on the show this morning, actually for my thyroid, because I felt like I needed to give my thyroid a boost, but it works on everything in your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual arena. There's 144,000 frequencies it works with. It is incredible. And I even put it on my dog, and it helps my dog. One time I did and I've got this on my website under Healy, but I've got 2 photos where I did a shamanic journey. And in the shamanic journey, I healed a past life where I'd had my eye damaged, my left eye damaged. I think it was my left eye. And it came out after the session with this huge bruise, like I'd been punched in the eye. And within 2 hours of going on Healy, it was back to normal. My eye had completely healed and was back to normal. It's an incredible sort of tool or resource at the moment for being in your optimal health. And I've found it I can't tell you how helpful I found it to be for me. So if you'd like more information on that, or you want to ask me any questions, please go to my website. And also this week, if our wonderful producers wanted to scroll the information across on my Patreon community this week, we're doing a soul mastery group to help with planetary healing of, or as much as we can, contributing to helping the people of Maui. Obviously Maui's been hugely in our consciousness at the minute. So we're going to do lots of sending love and healing energy to the people of Maui in our Soul Mastery group. If you want to join, please join my Patreon community. It makes a huge difference. And I'd like to say that when we did a energy work there was an island around where I live in the Moreton Bay Islands, Queensland, and there was a huge fire tragedy where it was very sadly 5 children and the father were in the fire. And so there was a palpable sense of grief and, really, really a lot of disturbance that had been created from that, because people were, obviously really sad about it and felt for the mother and the community. And so we went in with our Soul Mastery group, and we did a powerful energetic healing. Some amazing healers were there actually, and it went on the scale of consciousness. And this is how powerful energy work is. It went from, on the scale of consciousness, grief, which was 75, and it went 4 steps up to it went up to pride, 175, that night after we'd done it. So I checked it before and I checked it after. And then the next day, one of the healers said that she felt that very shortly would go into courage, 200, the energy on the island. So the very next day I checked it again and it was in 200 courage, exactly like she'd said. That was how impactful that energy work had been, with all of us collectively working on healing that. And there was, different people working on it simultaneously from around the world, as well as our group that were, connected with us. It was very, very powerful. They said that if 2,000 people had meditated for peace during World War II, it would have ended the war. This meditation work, this energy work is so powerful. And also the next day after we'd done it, I had 2 people that I knew from the area that said that their heaviness in their heart had shifted. They had felt really intense grief. And then exactly on that night, after the time we'd done the healing, they said their heart cleared and they felt that shift from their heart center. So don't underestimate the power of your contribution to do prayers, to do healing, to do energy work. And on that note, just before we go into see our wonderful guest, TIM SANDARS, the founder of OMNIA, who knows everything about EMFs and radiation, I'd like to share with you a quote from Tesla. And this quote is quite well known, but it's very worth sharing, I think. And Tesla says here, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that is so true. He was actually a Venusian who was brought to the earth to accelerate the evolution of humanity. He was from Venus. So that was pretty amazing. And on that note, I would love to welcome our wonderful guest, TIM SANDARS, who is the founder of OMNIA. So welcome, Tim. It's wonderful to have you here.
Hi there. Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to your tribe.
Well, I'm very excited to pick your brains. And I know that...
Yep.
And I know that you have so much information to share with us on things to do with energy, frequency, vibration. And I'd like you to perhaps start by just giving us a bit of a rundown of why is electricity so important to people and humanity, and how does it impact us? And maybe also to do with the light, what the impact of what light is in relation to our energy.
Wow, yeah, just drop those in like huge topics,
No
right?
pressure.
So I guess I'm going to start by saying that I'm going to reveal to people kind of some new truths in physics, which actually support what a lot of people understand in their spiritual journey, right? And the first thing I'm going to talk about is another phrase from Tesla, where Tesla said, "Everything is the light." And I'm going to explain a little bit about what that means, because I work with a scientist, a physicist, who's a bit of a maverick genius, and he's written many papers about how we misunderstand all of the concepts in physics, from gravity to mass to even the atom. And what he shows in his experiments is that the atom is actually a torus field of light, and light is the same thing as electrical current, right? So if you think about it, like the sun is a big radiation field. What does that mean? And it's also broadcasting light. Well, what that means is the sun is broadcasting electrical current. But if you take it one step further, when Tesla is talking about everything is the light, what he means is that every atom is a spinning ring of light, but that light is electrical current. And to prove this, we've done an experiment where we basically show that you take a glass tube and you have a cathode at one end and an anode at the other end, and you send, effectively, you evacuate the tube of all gas, so that you can actually see what electric current looks like as it moves from the cathode to the anode, right? And in our physics textbooks, it says that basically these little balls of electrons, like bullets, should, like a scattergun, should go from one side of the tube to the other. But that's not actually what we see. What we see is these literally rings or donuts of light passing down the tube. And because that allows us to see the invisible, right? Because if it weren't in that tube with the gas evacuated, we wouldn't know what electric current looks like. But as I'm going to show you in a second, those torus fields of light actually are exactly the same as our blood cells, because our blood cells, if you take a picture of them from inside the body, they look like torus fields of light as well. So this is
Donuts.
all explaining how we are light beings. A lot of people talk in the spiritual world about, hey, I'm a light being, or I'm a light worker, or whatever. Well, that's physically true.
Mm.
So we're gonna get into that, and the importance of electrical current, but also the importance of knowing what electric current is, because electric current is in my body, it's in everyone's bodies. It's the building block of all life. It's in a blade of grass, it's in a drop of water, it's in a grain of sand. Electric current is the tool by which the creator creates everything. And once we
Life
understand
force. Another word would be life force.
it
Chi.
is life, it's just
Mm.
life.
Mm.
And each we can get into how it behaves as well, because I've mentioned that it's a torus field. And for those who don't know what a torus field is, you have to imagine a donut with a hole in the middle.
Should we bring
And
up one of your screenshots here?
we could do, yeah.
Yes.
If you go into the sort of well, I tell you what, I mean, yes, you could go into the one with the donuts on the tray,
Okay.
if you want to
So
pick
I'll
that
get our
up.
wonderful producers to bring it up on the screen. The
Yeah,
one with the donuts might make
yeah,
people hungry.
yeah. There you go. People get all hungry. So I normally, I've pretty much given the game away now, but I normally say to people, "What do you think those are?" And that is a picture taken from inside the body of blood cells. Now you can see that they've all got that torus field shape, right? And what the scientist that I work with has shown us is an explanation for what's going on here, right? Which is that is what we see here is electric current in motion, right? It is actually light rings, because the atom is a light ring or a torus field of light. And I'm just going to draw out what happens in a light ring, because it's actually really interesting. And
Okay. We'll probably
it
go back
tells,
to this. to Tim now, if you like, producers.
Yeah.
And
So just
what about the toroidal
how,
field? Do we need to share that as well? That toroidal
well,
field?
yeah, you can show. Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is all on a harmonic scale, right? So
Yes,
as
yes,
above, so below, and also
mhm,
as in the micro, so in the macro, right? So
yeah,
our galaxies are all torus fields, or our solar
yes,
systems are all torus fields. There's a torus field around the Earth. There's also a torus field around our bodies, which has been measured by the HeartMath Institute, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners will be familiar with, right? They
yes,
measured that
yes,
you've got one quite strong field of electrical current going to about 3 feet, and another weaker one going to about 10 feet around your body.
yeah,
So we are cell towers too. We are towers of cells, and all of those cells are electric current in motion. Going one step further, we know that our heart is a big electrical pump. We know that all our brain waves are electrical fields, alpha, beta, gamma, etc. This has all been measured in hertz, right? There's a guy called Bruce Tainio who also measured all of the frequencies of the liver versus the spleen versus the kidneys, and he showed that there were different frequencies going on in the body. And here you go. Here's the classic HeartMath Institute diagram, which shows that the heart basically creates this electrical field around your body, right? So the
yeah,
point I'm trying to make is that everything in the body is electric, not just some of it, not just whatever, everything, from a cellular level upwards. We are electrical first and biochemical second, whereas the whole world wants us to think that our bodies are entirely biochemical, or and can be treated biochemically, right? And that where the money is in all of that. I'm not going to get into all of that. It's a well-worn theme that if we all think that we're biochemical, then certain people make a lot of money. So ultimately, what I'm going to talk about next is how that light ring or that torus field behaves, right?
yeah,
So if you flick to the next screen, which basically talks about the 0 point, then effectively what you have inside, if you imagine that's the donut, like that's the torus field. On the inside of the torus field, in the center, you've got a magnetic still point, right? And that
yeah,
magnetic point holds the light ring that's spinning around it in place. So if you look at the bottom picture there, you see that sort of, we've kind of visualized that little spark that sits on the middle of the torus field of light. That magnetic point holds the electric current in motion. And that's effectively what we're describing here is
mhm,
magnetoelectric life. The
yeah,
atom, the cell, the particle all behaves in the same way. And then you've
mhm,
got this harmonic scale going from the body all the way up to solar systems and so on.
mhm,
Everything self-organizes itself into torus fields of
yeah,
light. That is effectively how the holographic universe behaves, right?
mhm,
And what
mhm,
happens is, and this is the interesting part, is that basically what you can see there in the top screen, top picture, is a blood cell, which is basically compressing itself into matter. And what that means is that light ring of electrical current is drawing some energy from the 0 point, or the magnetic still point, the point of no electrical potential, right? The magnetic still 0 point. It draws the energy from that point to spin itself into a light ring. And that's called the compression phase, where effectively it forms matter, or our blood cells, or this water bottle, or the water in this water bottle. Everything is behaving in a similar way. So it borrows the energy from that magnetic still point to spin itself into a light ring, and then it discharges itself into the ether. And so it basically lives and dies, lives and dies. It flicks on and off in rapid succession. So
yeah,
effectively, if you slowed that torus field, which is the blood cell, if you slowed that down, you'd see it flicking on and off, compressing, expanding, compressing, expanding, compressing, expanding. And the expansion phase is also known as radiation, right?
right,
Because the cell is radiating out into the ether, and then
mhm,
basically that cell then borrows the the energy from the 0 point to spin itself into a cell again. So all of your cells are literally flicking on and off, on and off. And if it's like a movie, if you slowed it right down, then you'd see each frame flicking on, off, living, dying, making itself, discharging itself, making itself, discharging itself. So what counts in this electromagnetic universe or magnetoelectric universe, whichever one you want to call it, or holographic universe, where everything is light, basically compressing itself into matter or stuff. What matters is whether that compression phase is equal to the expansion, because if it is, then you get that perfect torus field, right?
Balance. You get balance.
The perfect donut. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And it's very much like breathing, right, in our bodies. So you'll notice that when I talk about something, there's loads of mirrors or echoes in lots of other daily experiences that we have. If I breathe in, right, which is basically charging up all of the cells in my body, if I breathe in the same as I breathe out, then I have balance in my body. But if I breathe in too much or I breathe out too much, then I have imbalance in the body, right? So what is important about electromagnetic fields, which come out of our phones and laptops and Wi-Fi routers and everything, is that the electrical current is imbalanced, right? It's not anything to do with the heat. So at this point, I'd like to show people the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the first slide.
First slide, yeah.
And we can talk a little bit about this, because
Great.
what mainstream physics is trying to tell us is that this thing governs our health, right? This which has always stood for 100 years, maybe 150 years, I don't know, but a long time. They've measured certain types of radiation, and they've said, well, when a radiation field gets super fast, it creates quite a lot of heat, and that heat instantly damages the cell. But if a wave field is not moving so fast, it doesn't create heat, and therefore that doesn't harm us, right? And so they've classified all radiation as either ionizing or non-ionizing, right? And because all of the radiation that comes out of phones, laptops, etc., is classified as lower frequency, and the wavelengths are longish. They're not like super short. They're microwaves effectively. They say, well, there's no harm. There's no harm there because there's no heat being produced and there's no harm. However, right, what we know is that they've been testing electromagnetic fields on rats for the last 25 years. And there's something to the tune of 6,000, and some people say 20,000, but I'm just going to stay safe and say about 6,000 peer-reviewed studies that show that when rats encounter electromagnetic fields, they develop all sorts of nasty diseases and afflictions, such as cancers, DNA strand breaks, which is the big one. That's, effectively, if it breaks our DNA, it can do anything. It can disrupt anything in the body, our immune systems and our fertility as well. Infertility was another thing. And incidentally, infertility is one of the easiest things to prove in a human experiment as well. In fact, there's a guy called Tim Ferriss that you can look up on YouTube if you want and look up his experiment. Yeah, he's a kind of one of the original influencers who wrote a book called The 4-Day Work Week. And he did a test on his own body where he put his phone in his pocket for 2 months and measured his sperm count for 2 months, right? And then he took his phone out of his pocket and basically didn't use it. And after 2 months, he doubled his sperm count, right?
Yeah.
And that is what he the way he described that is not trivial. And you think about it, that's 2 months. And most men have had their phones in their pockets for 10, 15 years now, right? So
well, I've got to say too, when I got my first phone, I was holding it, my mobile phone. I remember straight away I started getting tingling down my arm, and then it started feeling numb.
Yeah.
I couldn't use it until I had some type of protection on it, because that was going to, you know, help with this, because I just had immediate energetic reaction.
Yeah. Well, the bad news is that that's possibly, you know, potentially just going to get worse and worse, because as we saw on the previous slide, those frequencies are now being turned up from 4G to 5G. They're going up potentially 26 times stronger, because 4G had a limit of 2.6 gigahertz. And you just got to imagine that's the speed at which something is oscillating, or you know. Oh, by the way, I meant to say that the alternation between, you remember we talked about the compression of the atom or the cell, and the expansion, compression, expansion. The speed at which it alternates between those two phases, that is frequency. Right. So when people start talking about, oh, I want to raise my frequency or whatever, really they're just talking about the speed at which it oscillates or alternates between the compression and the expansion. And of course, frequency and the speed at which the wave field of electrical current or light comes out of our Wi-Fi routers or our cell towers, that's speeding up and up and up, right? So the speed that we used to have was on 4G was 2.6 gigahertz, and that's going up to potentially 26, right? Which is like 10 times as much, right? So we're in a, and some people say it's going up to 90 gigahertz. I hope not, but the point is that it's not just, you know, a 5% increase or a 10% increase. It's like a 10 times increase, right? It's a hell of a big step going up to 5G, you know, the Internet of Things and the connected universe, and a cell tower on every lamppost. So we're looking at a huge step up in electromagnetic activity around us, and that's bad news for you, for everyone. And let me just explain why you were getting tingles, because this is really important, right? I mentioned that there are balanced electrical fields like the sun. The sun is the giver of all life, right? Nothing would be alive without the sun. And the sun is also hotter and higher frequency than EMF that you get from phones. We know that because our phones do not get as hot as the sun. And, you know, we know that the sun is vibrating at faster frequencies than our phones. But we also know that all the rats that were exposed to EMF, they developed cancers, infertility, DNA strand breaks, endocrine system damage, neurological disorders, all sorts of things. And the reason is because it's vibrational. It's not because of the heat. Now, the heat happens when the vibration is going really, really fast. That's when heat occurs. But at lower levels of frequency, alternation between compression and expansion, at those lower levels, what we get is a subtle, not undetectable, but difficult to detect level of stress. And so this is the way I draw this out so that people can kind of visually understand it. If you look at the cells in your body, which I've just shown you on that slide before, and imagine that they want to basically spin like this with a perfectly balanced ring of electrical current, like a donut, you know, a perfectly balanced donut. But along comes the EMF field, and it vibrates kind of like this, right? With what we call imbalance and uncenteredness, which means that the relationship between the 0 point in the middle of the electrical current is always basically, it's like breathing in, breathing out, you know, it's effectively an agitated, stressed wave field of light.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And what happens is our bodies are the electrical current, or the electromagnetic field that is our bodies, which we saw through the HeartMath diagram. They basically are always listening electrically to what we encounter, right? So when we walk into the sunshine, it's positive energy that also spins like this. So our bodies go, oh, lovely, sunshine. That's good for me. I'm going to resonate with sunshine.
So what the body's trying to do is trying to adapt to stay in its best sort of state, depending on what is thrown towards it. So it's just really trying to adapt and fix the issues that come up. So if the cell has not got the perfect balance, with the center point being perfectly symmetrical in the thing, and it's out of whack, what it's trying to do is just trying to fix up the situation, but it's creating a lot of stress and disease and things like that. Is that how you would put it?
Absolutely. What I would say is that as energetic electrical beings, which our bodies are,
Mm-hmm.
right, we respond electrically to everything we encounter, whether it's good or bad. We respond in a good way to good vibrations, like the sun, like walking barefoot on a beach, like
or meeting somebody that you're in resonance with, and you're just in the same energy.
Like having a hug, right? You're having a hug. Basically, that's two positive energy fields amplifying each other, and it's the same thing if you're walking on a beach barefoot. You know, the positive energy in the sand, in the earth, is complementing your body's energy. So there's that amplification, and you pick up that good vibration, right? But the same thing happens if an energy field is imbalanced and uncentered, like where the 0 point is never settling in the center, right? Imagine that the magnetic point inside all of your cells, which I just drew out, right? That is listening to the 0 point that's happening in the EMF, right? So on a very subtle level, you get this electrical stress within your body, right? So what we want to do is make that EMF field spin like this, with balance and centeredness around that 0 point, nice and smooth, right? And once that happens, then the body picks it up and goes, I like that new field. I can get on with that. You know, that's in sympathetic resonance with my electrical currents in my body. So that's kind of what my company does, but I'm sure we'll come back to that.
Well, I'd like to talk about that, because, you know, the reason I invited you is because your products do help, from my own experience, incredibly with EMFs and radiation. And they are OMNIA, your company is called OMNIA. And so I wanted you to perhaps address why the OMNIA stickers that you have help to balance this issue that's happening in our bodies, because I have been using these for a while, and I notice that it makes a huge difference to how you feel. I'm very sensitive to energy, and so I can pick up these things. And I have, you know, one on my phone. I sent one to my son actually the other day, so I wanted to make sure he had one on his mobile phone and on his smartwatch, because they go on all technical things. But how do they actually work? How do they rebalance this sort of out of balance situation that's happening with EMFs and radiation?
Well, basically, because we know what the problem is, as in what I just described, the energy field is going like this. We need to make it go like this, and we need to override the vibration. And basically what we're saying is that 0 point in the EMF field is jagging all the way around, and it needs to be basically going straight into the center, so that the light ring can spin around it with balance around the centered 0 point, right? That's what we're trying to do electrically. You know, that's the only way I can draw it out. You know, so that's what we're trying to do. So within our products, which look like this, they're a very simple sticker. We've got a means of which we've imprinted an energy field into that sticker, which basically, if you imagine that the body is prone to the electromagnetic field, right? We're effectively, once we walk into those electromagnetic fields, our bodies are conditioned to respond. We've found a technology which basically is almost like the EMF is conditioned to respond to that technology or that energy imprint. So it's it is just a sticker, what we have, but it has a very, very special and very powerful sort of what we call nanotechnology, which is infused within the sticker, which is what the inventor of the product calls Deca technology. And Deca technology is basically a unit of energy which is perfectly balanced, which can be programmed to then override the imbalance in the radiation field.
Should we bring up the screenshot of the DECA information?
You can, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't really going to go into this because it's a lot to take in for the first time anyone's ever heard of OMNIA or what we do. But it's also very exciting because effectively, if you understand that there could be a new unit of energy within our atmosphere, which is here to actually assist our ascension, it's here to assist the great cleansing of the world right now, because as we well know, with the Maui things that you're talking about earlier on and everything else, there's a massive long list of things that are really quite horrific that are going on in the world. But also right now, all of the shadows are being brought to the surface.
Yes,
to be transmuted. Humanity is being brought to the surface.
Yes.
And what the inventor or the discoverer of DECA energy believes, and what he's received information through his channeling, that the information that he's received through his channeling is telling him, is that the DECA energy is here to support humanity as it goes through this transmutation process, right? So we're being hit by horrible energies from all sorts of things, whether it be stuff they're putting in the sky, stuff they're sending out of cell towers, things they're putting in food, and you can go on and on. The DECA energy is here to help us to maintain our balance and effectively raise our vibration.
And that's part of the balance too, isn't it, Tim? Because the dark energies are doing their thing, but the light energies are bringing in the balance of all the good stuff, because to counteract that, so there's a balance in that as well.
100%. It's almost like we're being almost like we're being cheated on, right, by all of this, whether it's
surreptitious hidden stuff,
technology, or real sort of dark stuff that is really technical, and we don't. It's almost like we hardly stand a chance against the onslaught of what's going on at the moment, but we do. I'm not gonna go into sort of like feeling like we're losing or anything like that, because we're not. We've got extraordinary technology that's on our side, but we perhaps don't know that it exists, and
which is why I brought you on.
And that, I mean, I sometimes refer to DECA energy as almost like a bit of a magic carpet for us to allow us to rise above everything and basically fly.
So it's allowing us to go into higher frequencies, higher vibrational frequencies, to rise above the lower stuff, because then it's not energetically aligned. So you sort of, it doesn't come together. Something.
And that's our trump card, because the higher we raise our frequency and our vibration, and I've talked about what that really is earlier on. I hope that was interesting to people. But the more people that form this kind of energetic network of higher vibration, we leave all of that lower vibration stuff behind. It simply can't exist anymore. That's why all the truths are coming out at the moment, and everyone's sharing all the truths and exposing the lies, because then the lies cannot exist anymore,
Exactly.
So these are very exciting times, and we've really got to focus our energy on, just being of that higher vibration, so that we can just literally just watch all of this stuff pop up and just transmute it and say, well, it's over for you, that have been trying to poison us, control us, etc. It's over, because we're going to a place where you can't do that.
That's right. I love that.
So
what I might do,
we use DECA energy to basically make the field go like this, and then the body goes, oh, I like that. So we do tests on the blood, on the heart, on body strength, and on water structure, and we always get very good results showing that there's great benefits to the body. So I would just advise people to have a look at our website and check those tests out. And if those results are the sort of thing that you want to see in your body, and I suggest that that most people would agree with me that they are positive, very positive. And then, yeah, that's a good, in my view, it's a good action to take.
Absolutely. Well, what I might do is I might just share with everyone the link on my website where you can get this information. Now, I will say I am an affiliate, to be transparent, because I love this product. And so it's a link where you can actually get a discount if you'd like to purchase this product via my website. And so if you go to the news on my website at www.medyhne.com, so that's MEDYHNE, and you'll notice the latest news report says OMNIA latest news and song, and that's where you can also access the song link. You can use the referral code. This is for my Soul Tribe community, which is OMNIA Soul Tribe. So if you use that as a discount code, you'll get a discount on that product. But, I really recommend them. They're fantastic. The other way that I think it's really good to be able to access your sort of confirmation that they're working is to use muscle testing. So you can put your arm out without the product on your phone and just see how strong your arm stays, and you'll notice that it's always weak when you're holding your muscle, your mobile phone or anything like that. And then when you put this sticker on your phone and then you do that again, you'll notice that your arm stays strong. So this is a really perfect indication for you on that personal level that your sticker is actually working to maintain your immune system and the strength in your body. So to me, when I did that, that was huge, because it made a really obvious personal confirmation for me that this is working, on top of feeling energetically better with the product too. So, and there's all sorts of tests on that you've done on the site. So it is.
And when you feel it in your body, that's the real sign that you can trust. You can trust yourself. And if you don't feel it, then I would expect you to return it and say, well, I didn't feel it. Not, all I will say is that not everyone's the same electrically. We're all different, and we're all different in our blood types, in our fitness levels, in our all sorts of things. Our blood sugar levels, all sorts of things. So, but for most people, if they do try the muscle test and they basically see how strong they are. Right, I'm super strong. Then put a phone in your hand, do the same test. Most people's arm just gives way.
That's right.
And the reason is because these things scramble all the balanced electrical currents in the body. They just scramble them. So unless you've got an OMNIA sticker on and you hold your phone, your arm will just give way, because it'll be like, this is stressing me out. But it's amazing that you don't actually feel that until you've done an actual muscle test and really interrogated your body's strength like that. And like I said, we want strong bodies when we're using our devices.
Absolutely.
We can't really get away from them at the moment.
Actually, can I say too, we did a dowsing workshop last night. I have some dowsing sticks here. So, if you're able to dowse, you can even dowse it with dowsing sticks or pendulum and things like that as well. There's other ways to test it too. So, yeah, I really like my dowsing rods. I just learned how to work with them properly last night in a workshop that I held on my website. So I love what you're doing, and whether people get OMNIA or they get something else. I mean, obviously I recommend OMNIA, but I would say to people, just be really highly aware of the EMFs and the radiation in your house. There is another way that you can actually measure it too, isn't there, Tim?
You can get radio frequency meters to measure the output of your phone or whatever, but just one thing I would say, like you're absolutely right. There are loads of other things that you can do to protect yourself from EMF. One thing I do recommend is some of the clothing that's coming out, which protects you. Especially if you're just sat at a desk all day, you may as well put one of these things on, right?
Where do you get those clothing?
Well, I would recommend silver-lined clothing, but there's a lot of new brands popping up all over the place. I'm hoping to do a partnership soon with someone where we can put the OMNIA technology within the clothing,
Oh, that's a great idea.
as well as, you know, the silver shielding that happens.
Because I know that, you know, things like linen are better in terms of your energetic field when you wear linen, as opposed to, you know, synthetic materials. But this is actually a protective guard you're talking about against EMFs. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some really cool things coming out with Faraday cages in their pockets, for example. So if you put your phone in the pocket, there's like a Faraday cage around it. I don't know whether that means you never get any data or whatever, but who knows. But so things like protective clothing are things that we would advise. But also the main thing is, well, two main things I would say, like at night, just turn everything off. Right. A lot of people go, oh, but my alarm clock. No, get a manual alarm clock. It honestly, it will add years to your life doing this. Turn everything off at night. Wi-Fi routers, you know, every type of light in your bedroom, effectively. Turn it off.
That's interesting.
Okay, and also
your smart meter, you can't really turn your smart meter off, but you can put a sticker on
it. True. Yeah, put a sticker on a smart meter, on, you know, electric cars, on Wi-Fi routers, on laptops, on phones, everything, you know. And the energy in our patches lasts forever. So, you know, it's a set and forget situation. But the other thing I would recommend everyone is take at least an hour a day when you just get away from your phone, right? Like, just go for a walk, go into the woods, leave your phone at home, just basically do something non-artificial, do something organic, rather than AI, you know.
Fantastic.
Because, you know, the body needs it, because we don't realize how much we're hammering our bodies with electric currents all day. And they're electric currents, like I said, that our bodies don't agree with, because they're vibrating like this, right? And our bodies start to go, you know. So
well, that's wonderful information, Tim. Thank you so much for sharing everything. You know, there's so much in there that I'm sure that people will have heard for the first time, in terms of the knowledge of how it all works, you know, and also how it is impacting us. You know, people may not be fully aware that our bodies are, you know, sensitive, you know, and that they're able to really be impacted by this. So I'd like to finish with a beautiful piece of writing that's really positive about where we're going in our future. So if you'll just stay with me for that, Tim, and then we'll say goodbye to everyone. So this one is from Black Elk, Native American in India. Corruption, greed, poverty, consumerism, and injustice are predominant characteristics of our civilization, accompanied by a great technological advancement that has become a weapon for destruction and a tool for suppressing resistance. Life cannot continue this way forever. The village is near. I will build the village of the chosen. Then we will find the warriors that are true, pure, and ready. They will come to this village, and this will be no ordinary village, but a village of warriors, medicine, wisdom, healing, and love. I have told this spirit vision to many before I was taught it from my elders, that it was ancient prophecy. I have been chosen for this. It is beautiful, but beyond the English language what I see. I've seen this vision before many times. I know that I have a mission. Earth people, we have a mission. The most important mission of this lifetime. In the end, the blue man of greed, war, destruction, deception is defeated by the rainbow warriors. So I thought that was good to end on. Thank you so much, Tim. It's fantastic to chat with you. If anyone would like to, again, I'll put it up on the screen now. If anyone would like to follow up with the OMNIA information, you can go to my website here at medina.com and go to the news section, and the latest OMNIA latest news and song has the discount referral code there, and you can order your OMNIA stickers there. And I also like the fact that they're very small, so they're sort of like unobtrusive, you know, they don't stand out or stick out, you know, on phones and things. My son liked that too, because, you know, he's young, he thinks about these things. So so thank you everyone for listening today. I hope that you got a lot out of this incredible talk with Tim, And I look forward to seeing you next week for another show, another exciting show. And thank you, Tim, for everything that you're doing for the planet, because this is going to make a huge difference for the collective, and really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Medina. It's a great pleasure. And you never know, Deca Energy might even replace the whole electricity grid, because that's the problem here, is that the electricity grid is toxic, right? Whereas Deca Energy is just organic energy. It's almost like the energy that's here in our atmosphere that we can learn to program. In the future, we may even put a sticker on our laptop that just charges up our laptops. And that's where we could be going with this. And it's very, very exciting. But we need to remember how to use it first, or, you know, coordinate with it like that. But anyway, yes.
I love that. It's free organic technology. Love it.
Because that solves it. That solves it. And it also means that we live in harmony with the earth as well. You know, because the electricity grid is it's a source of power that's created by force, right? It's like, if you imagine a dam, you open up the dam, all the water comes, you know, flying down like masses of water to turn a turbine to create that electrostatic charge that again then goes off onto the grid. That's all force. And the Deca Energy is just like effectively abundant, gentle, harmonious energy. And that's where we could be going. That could be the future.
That reminds me of the ancient Indian prophecy to tread gently on the earth, which is so important for all of us, our footprint. Thank you, Tim. Fantastic to chat with you. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening. Please leave comments below, and I look forward to seeing you next week, hopefully. Thank you. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Bye. Bye, Tim.
Bye.
Bye.